I am so excited to bring to you my returning guest today. She was in season 1 and she's back for season 2, Mama Medicine, Emily Blushtein. She is just an incredible force for good in this world. She is a Kambo and psilocybin and cannabis practitioner. And she and I were just diving into what we were moving through in this latest Eclipse portal, some old patterns and conditioning that is arising to be faced off with yet again. We dove deep on the people pleaser within and practicing discernment around setting boundaries in order to meet our own needs before we meet the needs of our loved ones. That weaved into the wounding that a lot of us carry around our identities as mothers. We dove into a little bit of my own made into mother journey and how we both talked about how our children are our greatest teachers for our own evolution. We also talked a little bit about approaching life as a ceremony and weaving in ritual and the power of intention when moving through our day and cultivating self-awareness and bringing full presence in each and every moment, how each and every moment presents an opportunity to do that. And without further ado, here is Emily. Mama Medicine, Emily, welcome back to the podcast. We're actually launching season 2 and we're circling back, just like all of life really is just continuous cycles, right? Of death and rebirth. So I was so called to have you back on the show and really just as an opportunity for us to catch up, girlfriend to girlfriend.
Well, thank you so much for having me. When you reached out, I got all the truth bumps all over my body. I was like, yes, let's do it. I'm ready.
Amazing. Yeah, it's so cool to see the personal growth I've gone through just with this podcast and how letting go of what I think it needs to be and just allowing whatever is coming forth in the co-creation with my guests. So yeah, I just wanted to start with maybe we were chatting about it a little bit in the pre-show, but we just moved through a major celestial event, a lot of energies coming through, a potent portal, opportunity, as always, for new things to show up and to allow those things to become curriculum for our growth. So yeah, I just want to ask you, what has been coming up for you?
Man, this eclipse season has been crazy. A lot of this week has been full of retrospecting and looking back and seeing the lessons learned. And it's funny because the second I can pinpoint the lessons learned, it's like the universe is testing me like, oh, did you learn it? Did you learn it? Are you sure? And for me, it's been to slow down and to take it easy. I was just going nonstop. I have like a couple of events coming up and then just being a mom. In March, it was my sister's birthday, my daughter's birthday, my mom's 60th birthday. I had a funeral. So every single weekend it's been boom, 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 boom. And on top of that, the events that I'm planning, I had family staying at my house. So it's been crazy because I've experienced super high highs where I'm manifesting things out of thin air. And then the next week, it's like traumatic events that are just being like, nope, you're still going too fast. And so I've been in discovery mode of where the balance is. It's crazy. I made this Instagram reel about Kambo. And the next day I had a client come for an intentional hair up and we made intentional candles. And my intention for this candle was I wanted to sell out of my events, but also I wanted the people who need the medicine to come find me. And literally overnight, it was a tea light candle, so it didn't burn very long. I wake up and this video reached over 1.1 million views on Facebook and almost 50,000 views on Instagram. My emails were flooded. I just couldn't believe it. I have never experienced anything like that. And then A couple of days later, there was like this Instagram giveaway for this moon raising cape that I've been wanting forever. It's like a $3,000, $4,000 poncho made from alpaca. And I never do Instagram giveaways. And I did it. I followed the people, I tagged everybody I knew, and I won. I won this giveaway. And I was just like, what? I was speechless. I couldn't even believe. And this was all in 1 week span. Okay, so super high, right? I'm like vibrating so high. I'm like thinking I can manifest anything that I ever wanted. I'm trying to calculate, like, what did I do right? Why did this happen? I need to keep doing it. And then the next week, my nanny had to have an emergency surgery. She was out all week, so I'm by myself. I have my mom, my grandma from Israel. My dad is at my house. I got stung by a bee on my toe, and I had this crazy swollen reaction to where I could barely walk. So, and then I go on vacation with my daughter, and we experienced something pretty traumatic where we were staying at a hotel. And I don't know what was going on outside my door, but there was a man, a woman, and a dog, and they were fighting, and it was really bad. I was scared for our lives. They were banging on my door. I had to call the cops. And I had my two dogs with me, and it's just us. And I had to lock us in the bathroom and call the police and wait for them to come. And I had to call my cousin to come pick us up. And when he came pick us up, there was a lot of blood outside. Like, I think the dog attacked the man. I think it was protecting the woman, but it was so terrifying. I don't ever remember being scared for my life in this way or for my daughters. And she's 5 years old and she's not really understanding what's going on. So it was just extreme highs and then extreme lows. So like in 14-day span. And with this eclipse season, it was more or less like I'm claiming that I don't want to learn my lessons through traumatic experiences anymore. Because I've definitely been getting the message to slow down and rest these past 3 months. And I have not been listening. I'm like, I need to plan a retreat in Costa Rica. I need to plan one in Maui. I'm calling all these retreat centers. I'm doing all this research. I'm just finding, I found something that I really love to do and it works well. And so I'm trying to expand, but the universe is like, it's coming to you. Just wait, And I was like, no, I need it now. And then I had all this family stuff happen. And so with that traumatic experience, this just happened last Friday. So this week I canceled all of my calls. I physically have not been able to do as much as I normally would do. And I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just in this place of extreme gratitude that we're safe and extreme gratitude of this understanding that I've done so much work. And now it's time for me to just sit back and let the universe meet me halfway. How is it going to meet me halfway if I keep pushing forward? And so that's kind of where I've been this week post eclipse, kind of just like really breathing. I went to a workshop last night. It was like an ecstatic dance, like just doing things that I normally wouldn't do or make the time for. Finally, my nanny's back. I have some help around the house with my daughter. I can have some me time. But it's been a crazy roller coaster, especially saying family so much. There's always opportunities of healing and growth with that. So yeah, I don't know. How was the eclipse season for you?
Ooh, oh my goddess. I don't know if I could top any of that, girl. You should have let me go first.
It's not a competition.
Oh my goodness. I feel you though on so much of what you shared, just the themes, that are coming through because of what you're moving through and how that's what's so cool, how on the 3D level it might look slightly different what each of us is moving through, but then kind of on that 45D level, what in terms of our own awakening and our spiritual evolution, that sort of thing. There's so many common themes here. And wow, where do I mean, there's so
There's a
many
lot.
threads to tug on there. I love it. I mean, goodness, I feel the same. I have our first women's group psilocybin retreat. The container is opening next month.
Ah,
And so while I've done, plenty of one-on-one work and group work facilitating for others, this is the first one I'm co-creating with my sisters here in Portland. And so it's been a massive portal of growth on top of what feels like a longer winter portal of
mm,
growth after birthing my daughter and everything that comes through the birth portal and bringing another child into the world. And what really resonated with me with what you're sharing there is a few things. One is this dance between yin and yang, or the masculine and the feminine, or just being in that dance of co-creation with the universe. And how I think you and I both in our past lives especially got really good at being in our masculine, being linear and focused and being in that hustle mode of like, get shit done. And the harder I work, the more payoff there will be. And that's just leads to only one way. Yeah. As you can see, just like the universe will send us lessons and showing us that that's not heading anywhere that ultimately serves us or serves the people that we are serving, and how that leads to burnout, that leads to so many things. If we know that if we don't fill our own cups, that it can't overflow to serve others. And that's been very apparent for me too in this process of the
mhm,
of the retreat. I find myself, it's so funny, the reflections that I receive are when I let go of what I need to do or how it needs to look or anything like that. When I have that self-awareness that, wow, I'm operating from this frequency of um, ultimately scarcity, that there's a scarcity of time and for me to get stuff done, or there's a scarcity of people or what have you. It's like, oh wow, I thought I moved through this and this is coming up again for me to really face off with. um, and uh, and when I do surrender, when I do let go, when I am in that full trust with, I say source, consciousness, with her,
yeah,
especially the divine feminine, um, immediate reflection of like, oh, new signups, new applications. Like, it's like, wow. And that wasn't tied. And then in the days where I'm in that energy of like, I need to get this done or this needs to happen, but, and I feel it in my body, like I manifest my stress. So I know my bodily signature so well by now that it's like, oh, I feel it all in my neck and in my
mhm,
shoulders, and in my head too. Like I actually had, speaking of self-care and making sure to take the time to do that, I, made sure to schedule, it's been way too long. I work with this woman who's a craniosacral therapist, and also she works on myofascial release. And she comes to your home. It's incredible. And she really is a medicine woman in her own right. And she was just doing her thing on me, and she's doing like an inner jaw release and everything, and also just
I need
like
some of that.
oh, it was so I feel like I just scratched the surface in terms of the release that my body is asking for. And
Mhm,
she's like, oh my, like, have you had any headaches recently? And I was like, actually, I had a gnarly headache about 2 to 3 days ago. And usually it's because it's really tied to my hydration status. Like I need to be really on top of that. But if I get so heads down working, I mean, that's sort of a relic of my residency days where I would just go hours and hours without drinking anything, which is so
mhm,
unhealthy. But she was like working on my scalp, and she's like, yeah, the fascia of your scalp just feels so tight. And I
mhm,
was like, oh yeah, I've definitely been falling into that stressful relationship with my work, which I am transcending, like still learning to transcend. And I saw this wonderful quote recently that was, that said, when you are working on something and it is not in alignment for you, then it will manifest as stress. But if you're working on something that is in alignment for you, it just manifests as passion. And you can, and that resonated so deeply with me. And almost where I fall, I'm noticing this new pattern with me, because I've never been so in alignment with my work before, like now. And I almost become like hypomanic with it. Like I can just go, go, go. And if you tune too much into that manic energy, well, on the other side of that polarity is a depressive energy where your body just shuts down. And so, yeah, becoming, practicing more discernment around all of that is definitely what I've been in for sure. With this latest kind of opportunity to reflect on, the shadow and bringing it into the light with the eclipse energy. But yeah, I guess I want to ask, so first of all, I'm honored that I didn't get canceled this week in our call.
No, no way.
It's like, I made onto the calendar, juicy. Okay. So actually these conversations are so nourishing for me. I always leave them. Leave them just lit and expanded, just communing with a soul sister on the path. And I guess actually one of the things I was in contemplation with leading up to our conversation today, I was like, I want to ask Emily this. Is just this whole idea of the path of awakening. And I'm curious about who you have been attracting with your medicine. And at least for me, I'm finding that a lot of who is attracted to this offering, at least the one here in Portland, are women who don't have their own spiritual community or anybody in their lives who are experimenting with plant medicines in this way. And so, and sometimes, we can take it for granted that, we're so, well embedded in these communities. But the question that was coming through was, what does this path of awakening mean to you? Or how would you explain it to somebody who's maybe new to or contemplating stepping onto this path of awakening, specifically with plant medicines?
That's a good question. And I think there's so many layers. So I apologize if I'm bouncing back and forth. But like what awakening means to me, I think even looking back at my life, there's been multiple awakenings. There's been different phases of it and different catalysts and things that have happened that make me think, oh, I can't continue to live this way. And I need to look at myself in the mirror and figure out why I'm in this pattern that might not be the healthiest for me. And what is this new version of me that I want to create and that I want to be. And so I like how when you brought up depression and how sometimes if you're overworking on something that you're passionate about, you're actually can lower the frequency of yourself doing that. And I find that to be my case a lot of the times, because this lesson that I'm learning with this eclipse of slowing down and taking it easy has been a lesson that I've been trying to learn my whole life. I'm a triple Capricorn. So it's impossible for me to not do something and to not work. And, when I had my daughter, I was the head of sales and marketing of a very successful cannabis brand. And I managed like 30 people across the state of California. And even when I had her, I had this worry of like, oh, I don't want my title to get taken away. I have to get back to work. I still need to be this. But then there was this pull of like, but I just want to be with my baby and I just want to be a mom. And, things have changed and evolved. And I've had to really figure out like, and go through the phases of, okay, let's be a mom, right? And be a full-time mom. And then I'm learning, like, I don't think I can ever be a full-time mom. I don't think I'll ever be okay not having a career or doing something that I love. Yeah, I think the process of awakening is an everyday process. I feel like there's parts of me that awaken every day. I'm constantly learning about myself. Being able to have this ability to observe the day that I've had, like before I go to sleep, I'll try to, I review the day that I've had. I review my actions, my behaviors, my thoughts, and I will have a conversations with myself. Could have I responded better in this situation? Or maybe I was a little too spicy speaking to this person, like what brought that up on? Or maybe I wasn't too spicy because I know that I'm a people pleaser and I don't like saying no. And when I say no, I feel bad. I'm like, why do I feel bad protecting my boundaries? Right. There's a moment of awakening there. So I think the process of awakening for me is never ending. And it's constant learning about myself and what I like, what I don't like, my strength and ability to set boundaries with myself. Because when I'm learning about patterns and belief systems and conditioning and things like that, like patterns only repeat because of me.
Mm-hmm.
I can blame my partner, I can blame my parents, I can blame my sister for repeated things happening or cycles that are not changing. But at the end of the day, the only reason my patterns are repeating is because I'm not communicating my needs, or I might be setting boundaries, but I'm not keeping them or keeping people accountable for keeping them with me. Because I have this people pleaser thing that I'm working on right now. Like one of my habits is that I'll set a boundary and then someone doesn't follow it. And then I'm like, okay, I just like give up on keeping the boundary with someone. And then my peace is at stake. And uh, it's constant everyday working on this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I love it. I think too, with healing and awakening, there's so many layers and doors to unlock. And once you do that first lock and open that first door, you just want to keep going and going. And it's like I'm seeking the truth of Emily in this process. Like, what is my truth? How can I be my authentic self and really take care of me and my heart and my vibration the best way that I know how? And that's my constant lesson. And it comes up too, like the people that I serve medicine to, they're such mirrors for me. Literally every person that sits across from me, they just reflect back parts of me that I'm still working on. And it's so beautiful how the universe, like whoever needs the medicine ends up coming to the right person. Because when I'm receiving medicine too, just by being in someone else's presence and energy, is it's just as much of a ceremony for me as a person to serve medicine than being served the medicine. I have my own process of needing to be anchored and grounded, removing myself, being a clear vessel for the spirit to work through all these things. That's a process that's involved. And it comes with me meeting myself, my highest self, face to face and being okay with that and loving every part of me. Yeah, I hope I answered your question with that response. A little all over the place,
Wow.
but I think I hit it
No, you
somewhere.
hit so many juicy points there. Just first, just opening up what can be a Pandora's box at the beginning of this process, right? Like I say that when starting to work with plant medicines, animal medicines, fungi medicines, that it's just exploring through these altered states of consciousness, these other facets of our psyche that
Mhm.
we weren't aware of before, that we almost, because of how brilliantly structured our ego is and the ego defenses that keep us, keep those aspects of ourselves hidden from ourselves, it's almost impossible. It's like that veil between what we are conscious of and the subconscious, and then there's the unconscious. And
Mhm.
so much of that is informed by our really deep you know wounds from our childhood, that just the conditioning. And I'm actually even starting to move away from like calling them wounds, because they're actually just the seeds for our own soul's evolution, I
Mhm.
believe, that we incarnate into our families, our lineage, for a reason. And that's the only way that I've been able to make meaning out of the suffering that my family and, that we've endured. And and how my life is, part of my life's purpose is to be a cycle breaker and in our family lineage. And then there's also what the collective is moving through too. And yeah, a lot of awakening is just awakening to how we are default like into our subconscious patterns and waking up to really through self-awareness, cultivating self-awareness, that, wow, I am now falling into this pattern, this reactive pattern that doesn't serve me, that doesn't serve my relationships, doesn't serve any of my hopes, dreams, goals, desires for my life, and really taking full ownership over, our ability to work on becoming fully sovereign in our expression. It's shifting from victim to creator mindset. Like you talked about how we can never change somebody else. All we can do is ever work on ourselves. And it's amazing the reflection that you see when you do really work on yourself and bring a new version of yourself to the same old relationships, whether it's with work or your loved ones, that the dynamic that is co-created there shifts. And it's like, wow, it allows somebody else, to show up differently when we're showing up differently. I guess like where I'm feeling drawn to take our conversation then is diving a little bit more into this people pleasing, boundary setting, discernment conversation, because I feel like this is so alive for so many women, especially just because women tend to be higher in trait agreeableness. If you look at the big 5 personality traits, or there's different ways to characterize this, but women are also, socially conditioned, at least historically, to, behave, to play small, to be quiet, to, go along, to, or maybe to be chill, or like, oh, I want to be like the chill girl or something like that. And so we learn to, in that process, to betray. It's really a form of self-betrayal. And so, yeah, can you share a little bit more about your process in, first of all, awakening to the people pleaser within, and then also how that continues to maybe show up today and where your learnings have been? Because I feel like this will resonate with so many people. How does the people pleaser show up today for you?
It shows up for me in every aspect of my life. And I think that's part of this eclipse lesson, is really making my peace my priority. Because before, my thought was, if everyone is peaceful around me, then I'll be peaceful, right? If my boyfriend is happy, if my daughter's taken care of, if my mom gets what she wants, if my clients, have what they need, then I can relax. Then I'm at peace. But I'm putting myself and my peace at jeopardy by doing that, because by the time I get to me, I'm burnt out. I'm so burnt out. And it's so hard. It's been hard for me to say no, because I just want and there's a part of me that actually enjoys making other people happy. I really do. I love to be of service, but I just didn't know the balance. I'm always worried. I'm change my language here because I'm manifesting, not doing my old programs anymore. But I was always just concerned of like, do they have everything they need? Let me check in with them before I take care of me. The first thing I did in the morning was make juice breakfast for everybody before even brushing my own teeth or getting ready. It's like I would only take care of me at the end of the day when I would put my child down to sleep, and then I would take a shower and meditate. And it got to me. It really got to me. And you know what? The week that I said F you to everybody and was like, no, I'm drinking my juice, I'm going hiking, I'm going to take care of my things, you guys take care of yourself. That's when I manifested everything like this. That's when, I'm not even kidding you, I was drinking my juice every day. I was hiking, drinking water, like telling my boyfriend, take care of yourself, communicating with my nanny. She was a lot more hands-on that week with my daughter because I was at that burnout stage. And for that week, when I did that and I did this manifestation candle, I got the views and I won the giveaway. And I was like, I was trying to figure out why was I able to manifest these things so quickly this time around? I am a manifester, human design. And I'm telling you, it was because I chose to love myself and I put myself first. And I had this belief that everyone else would be fine without me. They will survive without me, you know? And it worked. I went to this gathering yesterday. There was like a deep breathing ecstatic dance. And one of the things I took away about like trust and surrendering, this analogy this guy used, and I love it. I'm going to use it all the time. He was like, as much as you trust when you write a letter and you put a stamp on it and you send it out through the mailbox, through the US Postal Office, as much as you trust that letter getting to where it needs to go, you need to trust that the universe is going to be taking care of your intentions the same way. And when he said that, my mind was like, what an analogy, because I never thought of it that way. For me, I'm like, okay, in order to surrender and trust, I'm going to play my surrender and trust affirmations at night. I'm going to reprogram my subconscious while I'm sleeping. It'll happen eventually, even though I'm constantly worried about things that like wasn't working. And the second I was just paying attention to my vibration, making sure that I'm loving myself, I was in tune with that source energy, right? The more I was taking care of my body, my temple, the more the universe wanted to reward me. And this right here just keeps coming back for me because this is what happened when I lost the weight in the first place. The more that I was listening to the messages, I was doing the work, I was taking care of myself, and the weight was falling off. That was my reward for loving myself, for choosing myself, for doing what I needed to do to divorce my husband, to move out, get my own place, meditate, journal, walk on the beach, whatever I was doing at that time, I was choosing myself over and over and over again. And the weight was just melting off. And like, I'm looking back in the past couple of years, it's been going to be 3 years since my surgery. And I gained 40 pounds my first year after my surgery. But
Wait. What surgery?
when I lost all the weight and I had a cosmetic surgery to remove the excess skin from my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gained 40 pounds the first year after. And when I look back, it was all because of a dysregulated nervous system. I not only had a surgery, I left my company that I built from the ground up for the past 7 years. I decided to work for myself for my first time in a healing space, which is really hard to do. And it was insane. So, and it's crazy because I've been playing with this, but the more I laser focus on regulating my nervous system, and telling people to fuck off. Beep. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if I can say that. But choosing me, things just happen like magic, like I'm in a video game or something. And I'm still, it's crazy because I've gone through this in such a dramatic way and it's still a lesson that I'm continuing to learn. But those 2 weeks that I was laser focused on my nervous system and loving myself and doing what I needed to do, I was manifesting things out of thin air. And then I went hypomaniac, like you said. And the universe was like, no, now you need to slow down. I'm going to sting you with a bee and freaking make you scared for your life because now you're going overboard. Because the second that it happened, I was going a little crazy. I was listening to podcasts, manifestation techniques. I was trying all these things. And it was like, no, I have the answer. The answer is to take care of myself. It's not about searching on how can this work, or I already know how this works. It's about putting it into practice. So It's like instead of becoming a people pleaser, I need to become an Emily pleaser. And that's where I'm trying. That's my work post eclipse is my peace is my number one priority. And I can do this with grace and ease and with laughter. And it doesn't have to be traumatic. And everybody who loves me and supports me will still be here, even if I tell them, no, sorry, I can't do that for you. They will understand.
Oh, yeah. They not only understand, but you become a permission slip for them to do the same thing for themselves if they're worried about disappointing you in the future, if there's some sort of ask that isn't in alignment for them to take care of their own vessels. And so, yes, that is like we should I think that this is we're missing the weekly Sunday sermon where we get preached to about this kind of stuff. They don't preach about this thing in church. In fact in church we're taught to be as women a martyr really for our families. Yes. And to so many of us completely lose ourselves in, especially in early motherhood. It's hard not to when you are you're just in complete devotion to this, this infant that you're birthing into the world and then nursing. And then there's those first several years of just, creating that secure attachment. It does take so much. But then there's at some point we come up for air and then we get to renegotiate kind of what it means to meet our own needs in meeting the needs of our children. And yeah, this idea too that, externalizing our peace and making sure that, everyone else is okay before I can be okay. That really showed up for me viscerally in a journey, actually. Where I was with, 6 of my girlfriends. We did a medicine journey for my bachelorette. That's like how we rolled. And what came up for me in that journey was I went, for part of it was falling into that shadow side of the caretaker, and I was so concerned with everybody else, I kept going to the woman who was facilitating for us, like, is she okay? Is she okay? Are my girlfriends all okay? And she had to keep reassuring me that, like, yes, everyone is okay. I like breathe, focus on yourself. This is a medicine journey for you. I'm here to hold the space. And that's what my job is here. You get to surrender and to receive. And really what I'm moving through here, and actually one of my greatest teachers in this area is my husband and life partner, because he never fails to put his needs in in terms of, he practices jujitsu just with such, and it helps him in his physical health and his mental health. And I see all the time when he goes that he is just feels better in his body and therefore and is able to show up and give more to the family when he goes and does that for himself. And I love supporting him in that. And yet I find myself falling away from my yoga practice or my sauna practice or something like that. Or, even it's something as like going out with my girlfriends for a night or something like that, which is so soul nourishing for me. I will put that at the bottom of the stack because I think like, I need to meet the needs of my children, meet the needs of my husband. And then, work also comes up with the needs of my clients. And then when the equation looks like that, things, like you said, the reflection is just things start to not really work. But then as soon as I do find myself actually where I'm trying to shift is like, I don't need to be so fierce in my no now, if in my sake finding that sacred no. Because what will happen, I'm finding out this pattern in myself that I will give, feel that energy of resentment, and then become really fierce and no, I can't do this anymore. No, especially to my husband or something like, I need this rest. I need this nap. I need this massage. I need this workout, something like that. And it can really come out, that Kali energy, I think unnecessarily so, because he's so willing. And I think you're seeing this too. As soon as we ask and can receive, people want to step up to help support. That's what we're here. You like just ask the nanny to step up, ask the partner to step up. It's okay if, I'm not going to make breakfast this morning. You make breakfast for the kids. Like, that's okay. They're so willing to do that because they know that when we fill our own cup, that it's just everybody's. When mom's taken care of, everybody is going to be just fine and well taken care of, and cultivating that inner sanctum, that inner peace, so that we can handle whatever comes our way. That's been a big lesson for me lately.
Yeah, I want to touch on what you said about motherhood, because I think it involves like a really big mindset shift where motherhood can look like I need to take care of everyone else before I take care of me, or it can look like in order for me to take care of everybody else, I need to take care of me first. And there was a lot of guilt and that I had to work through with asking my nanny for extra help, right? Or like if she can make my boyfriend breakfast so I can go hiking and take care of my daughter's lunch. Because mother, right? I don't know how else to describe the energy other than that. It's like, I'm the mom. No one can do it the way that I can do it. And, but it's like, it's my child will be fine if my nanny makes her lunch. She will do it great. She will get all of the nutrients she needs. And it's like letting go of that grip and allowing the support system that we have to support us the way that we support them. It's, and yes, I just wanted to mention that because it makes me a better mom when I go out with my girls. It makes me a better mom when I go out for my hikes. It makes me a better mom when I have that time to myself, because otherwise I'm living life for everybody around me, and then I get lost in the sauce, and then I'm getting stung by bees and having traumatic experiences in order to tell people to F off, and I don't want that anymore. And the lessons, like I said, the universe is kind of like, oh, this is your lesson. Okay, are you sure you've learned it? And what it's been putting forth for me this week has been a lot of like, hey, I told you I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Thanks for listening. Or I'm not available for this event. Sorry, and protecting my peace has never been as important it is for me right now in this moment. And working through that guilt. And so my daughter will love a happy mom way more than a cranky mom. It's better for my daughter to see a happy mom raising her than someone who's burnt out and doesn't have the energy to play or to read books. And I have that energy to do that when I go on my hikes and things like that. I actually don't want to be on my phone when I'm around her. I don't want to work. I don't want to deal with clients when I'm around her, because I have this inner peace inside of me. And there's no anxiety, there's no pressure. It's just I get to be a fully present mother when I'm with her, and it's awesome. It's such a gift. But I had to do a lot of work on that mindset, especially because before, when I just had my baby and I was working in more of a corporate environment, and there was a lot of fear of losing my place and being a career woman and figuring out what it even means to be a mom. There was so much to learn there, but my daughter was such a catalyst for me into the Emily pleasing phase, because and she just keeps me so grounded, because without her I would just be burnt out all the time. Actually, it's when she's my biggest mirror, and it's when I mess up with her that is the biggest wake up call for me, because when I get cranky and I might say something or behave a way that I normally wouldn't have, and she's looking at me, and then in my head, after I've done whatever I've done or said or not done perfectly or high vibrationally, I'm like, man, she's just a kid. Why am I even acting this way? Oh, it's because XYZ, um, so I'm so grateful for my child, because without her, I would still be the biggest people. I don't know where I would be in life without her, man. She keeps me grounded. She helps me say no to others for myself. She helps me choose myself over and over and over again. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yes, our children
Mm.
are our greatest teachers. And while we may, be able to move through life betraying ourselves, and it's ourselves that have to pay the price. It's different when we have children, and those
Mm.
children do. They are just wonderful little mirrors, and we just see how we're not when we don't show up for them, and they're really just an extension of ourselves. And it's like, oh wow, I'm not showing up as the mother that I always dreamed of being. And also too, just awakening to how a lot of us are not modeled this way of taking care of ourselves by our own mothers. So like our own mothers may have, I don't know about, I say this as part of the mother wound. My mom was a working mom too, and she would cycle through burnout periodically as I was growing up. She was a
Mhm.
small business owner, and then she managed real estate for a period of time too. And she would go so hard, making so much money, really not being emotionally available during those periods of time, and then would burn out and then take actually a few years at a time to recover, and then cycle right back into just going again, just full on in work mode again. And so I real like part of, going back to awakening, part of my awakening process is awakening to what I've inherited in my conditioning of how I show up as a woman, as a mother, as what it means to um, to sacrifice any aspect of myself, work identity, mother identity, and how that leads to an energy of resentment. And then I'm giving from a place of resentment, which doesn't serve anybody. And actually that was also a big part of the first time I had really engaged with a coach who worked with psilocybin. I actually thought I was wanting to work with her actually because I was moving through sort of an existential crisis around my work identity. I was undergoing these incredibly transformative healing experiences with various psychedelic medicines, and then the research was coming out, shifting the narrative around it. And I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'm meant to serve medicine the way that I'm practicing it currently as a surgeon. Like, I think I might be like, there's a medicine woman in me that is awakening, that is feeling really called to serve and be a part of the reintegration of these medicines into our modern Western societies, and so clearly needed. And that's actually how I initially engaged with her. But what came up in my ceremony work with her was how this really deep fear, and I was actually moving through a period of like subfertility or infertility in this process because I had come off of birth control and I wasn't cycling with my hormones yet. And I was bringing up a lot of fear around possibly never becoming a biological mother. And it's so funny how those fears and the way that she worked and so incredible was, those fears that are being triggered by, this work, really, like, let's go there. And I was so scared of it at the time that she invited me in a coaching session to go there, and I couldn't go there. I actually said to her, like, I don't know if I can go there. It's so scary, like in my sober state.
Mhm.
And then what came up in the medicine ceremony with the mushrooms is like having this. I was going in the ceremony. There was a period of contraction, and I was invited onto the healing mat. And there were just two of us women participating with two medicine women, and this coach. Her name is Azria. I need to like just plug her work more often because she works with neuro-linguistic programming, asking really specific questions in the ceremony around, you know, what's arising right now, what is the contraction around, and I felt it in my womb. And, you know, I'm going through this physical healing too with like wondering where my cycle is. It just is like very irregular at this point. And is to feel it in my womb. And okay, you know, and I was like, it's actually around becoming a mother and the contraction I have around that. And she was like, so what's the story? What's the belief that you have around becoming a mother right now that's leading to that contraction? What is that fear? And I said that it was around this, that it was going to require sacrifice, that I have to kill some part of myself that will never come back. And that was terrifying to me, that I was going to lose myself in the process. And she asked, the next question was, so, you know, what if I asked you, what is the difference between sacrifice and service to you? And I sat with it. You know, I'm deep into medicine at this point. And what came through for me was, you know, one is done with the energy of resentment, and the other is done with the energy of love. And that completely shifted after that ceremony, that like, holy shit, like becoming a mother is not about sacrifice. It's about being in service to life itself. And what an honor that is, and a privilege. And it doesn't require, you know, like actually, well, while it does require for a period of time this sort of dissolution, this metamorphosis, you know, when you first birth your child and then bring this child into the world, it was for me so disorienting. But on the other side of that, it's like, you know, the caterpillar going into the cocoon and then completely dissolving, and then the rebirth as a mother, from maiden to mother, and going through that whole journey. That has been so huge. And I'm just like, oh, thank goddess for these medicines and this work, and medicine women who hold these spaces, medicine women like you who are holding spaces for others in this process, because I for sure can see how I would just otherwise have just perpetuated the same intergenerational trauma that my mom inherited from her mom, and that, you know, going back who knows how far. And we get to awaken to that and shift and heal that wound.
I just love everything that you said, and I wish I had those thoughts before getting pregnant, because I just had no idea. I read every book, and I was very prepared, like on the logistic side of things. You know, I was like a Russian businesswoman, like that's how I approached motherhood. And for me, it wasn't until I was like 7 months pregnant and I did the hospital tour and I watched my first birthing video that it hit me that I was going to be a mom and I was going to give birth. And I remember that car ride home, I was crying so hard. I was so scared. And I literally like peed myself because I was crying so hard. And I didn't know until I knew what the difference was of sacrifice and service. And it took me a while to even realize that. Like I had to learn that through life lessons. And you've just verbalized it so beautifully just now. And the whole time you were talking, I was just like in my mind's eye, all of like uh just the process of me getting pregnant and finding out, and my pregnancy was just flashing in my mind's eye because I was not there mentally at all. I was just more worried about like finances. I want to get a nice crib that doesn't have lead in it. When can I get back to work? And I'm like, it was very different mindset than what motherhood to me is now. And it's such a sacred and beautiful process. And I just want to thank you for sharing what you shared, because I wouldn't have even connected the two But I resonate with that so fully because there, in the beginning of motherhood, there was a lot of resentment that I had to sacrifice these parts of me, but it was also learning that those I didn't want to be those parts of me anymore, and kind of accepting that as much as I wanted it and I didn't want it to go anywhere, I also didn't want it, and I couldn't imagine a life where I wasn't working at my company. Like that just was never a part of my future, even becoming a mother and all these things. And then the second it happened, it was just like the universe had a completely different plan for me. You know, I also didn't think I was ever going to be raising a child alone, you know, and I probably wouldn't have been able to leave my relationship if it wasn't for her, you know. Um, and there comes the service and just living for her, but for me, for her. And the gift of motherhood is really beautiful. I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, the parts that we can actually become conscious in this identity, like the conscious mother, where we can actually allow for this relationship now with this being to catalyze death of those aspects of ourselves that are like the wounded maiden, the disempowered version of ourselves, the victim that externalizes everything, you know, outside of her, and really step into embodied mother and reclaim our power and to become fully self-sourced and self-sufficient and sovereign, emotionally sovereign, and be that for our children. And it is, I say, just, yeah, such a beautiful, I say for any women who are contemplating motherhood, who feel called to be in service, like to the collective in this way, it's really beautiful to work with plant medicines before that, you know, in that preparation process.
Mhm.
But it's also, you know, it's never too late. It's never, you know, it's such a worthy, again, like investing in ourselves and in our own growth really just benefits every relationship around us. And yeah, I am so thankful to the medicines, and really specifically around also catalyzing my relationship with the divine mother, that
Mhm.
divine expression of motherhood, and having just really feeling so supported by her, by Mother Earth, and opening that channel of, you know, you were talking about, like, you know, drinking the juice, going on the hike. Those are just everyday tangible practical rituals for opening up that channel to source,
Mhm.
to that divine feminine energy that is, it's like a never ending well, a never ending spring of just nourishment. And she is always there. Like there's no, because it is the divine mother, you know, she is there to give and give and give. And the way that we give in return to her is by being in that energy of receiving, first of all. Like like yeah, just the, it's so humbling to think that we can move forward in life without that nourishment. But also we give back um by by just one, dropping into those spaces, but two, being, then allowing that energy to be the energy that we then propagate out through our work, through our service. And a lot of what I've been sitting with too is just, yeah, being the embodiment of what we preach here, right?
Yeah.
And showing up, if we're going to be the hollow bone, the clear vessel for that energy to come through, and the spaces that we cultivate, well, we can't do that if we're not practicing it every day. Like
Mhm.
I think, like I say, the path of the medicine woman is no joke. Like
The shadow work
you,
is real.
yes,
And
exactly.
it's nonstop and never ending.
I
but
was
I'm
just
here for
talking
it.
about exactly. I was just talking about that with my girlfriend. She had her solar return last week during this whole portal, this eclipse portal, and everything like that. And we were celebrating her on Saturday night, and we were just deep in one of those soul connected conversations, and really, it was just hitting us how this path of death and rebirth, just this cycle that we're on, is never ending.
Mhm.
In this, and we're also here for it, because the alternative just was never going to work for us. Like this,
Mhm.
it was, we were just called to this path. Really, it wasn't. It's not even fully conscious. It's just like, this is what unfolds for us, and we're just doing our best to show up and to be of service. But that looks different than how I thought it would be. It gets to be full of pleasure and play and being in that. I say it's like going from left hemisphere, doing and being analytical and all of that stuff, to shifting into our right hemisphere of just that more intuitive self that's just in flow
Mhm.
with the here now moment. um and so, yeah, that's actually, would love to kind of wrap up just a little bit with grounding down to really practical kind of ways that this shows up.
So what came up for me while you're talking is something that I've been working on this year, is shifting my perspective to everything being a miracle. Whether whatever situation that I'm dealing with, it could be lower vibrational, it could be higher vibrational, it might not be the best situation, but whatever is happening, it's happening for me so that I can grow. And if everything is a miracle, no matter what the outcome is, it's for the betterment of Emily. It's for the betterment of my upgrade, of where I need to be and where my higher self is pulling me towards. And like, I've had a lot of stuff come up these past couple of months, but with this perspective, I have been able to have that trust that, like, this may be a shitty situation in this now, but in a couple of days I'll might be able to see the bigger picture. Maybe it'll take a couple of months, but I fully trust it. I fully trust that the universe loves me, wants the best for me, that my soul chose this path for a reason. And like you said, it's showing up with this I'm here for it attitude. And things kind of play out gracefully with this belief. It's like sending that letter with trust, and being able to do that with little everyday things that show up for me. And so, really tuning into miracles, believing in my angels that they're working for me, that they have my back. It is my like day-to-day prayer and routine before I get out of bed. I put on angel affirmations and miracle affirmations, and I have that energy with my intention guide me throughout the day. And things become a little bit more fluffier for me when I do that. And I want to say, guide my intention. It's like an energetic GPS, right? It's
Mm.
like, and I love that term and analogy because it's so true how powerful intention is. And as being a medicine woman, or someone who's been in many ceremonies, or I really believe life is a ceremony, and everything can be done with intention. And I feel like the more awareness I bring to my intention, to doing even daily tasks, even if it's mopping my floors, even if it's having an intention while playing with my daughter, that's what makes me present, is creating an intention in that moment. Because otherwise I'm just doing it on autopilot. And it's like, why not take the opportunity to take charge of where my energy is going, so that I can receive it back, and be open to receiving it too. It's gnarly. I had this download the other day, how the tools that I've learned in ceremony are actually tools that I use in everyday life. And even in that traumatic experience that I had, my tools were to breathe, remember my why, remember my affirmations, remember everything's a freaking miracle. Even though I feel like my life is being threatened in that moment, I felt so protected and guided in that moment. I've never felt my angels working for me harder. And I couldn't sleep that night. My cousin had to come pick us up, but I was just praying with so much gratitude. It wasn't like I couldn't sleep because of anxiety. It was I couldn't sleep because of how full my heart was, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But I really I felt that to the fullest, and I still feel it. So I'm gonna keep doing that stuff because it's been working for me, and it's such a positive vibration. I mean, when you think of angels and miracles, you I don't know, I just shine right away. My heart beats a little faster with excitement, and I want to keep practicing that because it's been working for me. And I've really been paying attention to that this year, especially as my boyfriend probably is so sick of it because I'm nonstop with my miracle affirmations and doing any little house chore. I'm like, it's my intention. I'm bringing in my miracles, you know? And he's like, stop it already. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to win the lottery if I just clean my house a little harder, you know? I'm just kidding, but no, not really. I'm not kidding. I'm totally doing that. But like, it's having that belief that that's there and available for me, and it's about getting my inside world to feel that way so that my outside world can match that. And so living with intention, living life as a ceremony, it's a daily practice, and I'm not perfect at it. There is still the human part of me, right? They're human, and I have the soul. And so it's noticing when I'm not my best, and it's doing better the next day than I did the day before. And that's all we can do, right? We are humans, but we also have a soul, and we're pure love, and it's about constantly remembering that.
Mhm.
And there's my human gets in the way a lot of times, but that's my work. And like you said, I'm here for it. Like I'm ready. Let's keep upgrading, baby.
Yes,
Celebrations and laughter. No more traumatic experiences, please.
I loved everything that you shared. Yeah, approaching life as a ceremony, which means weaving in the daily ritual and the intention, bringing intention to it, and how everything can become ritual, even mopping your floors if you bring, full awareness and presence to it. And that's been coming up for me a lot, just in the caretaking for my little baby daughter. I'm changing a poopy diaper. I
My
love it.
goodness.
It's a miracle that this thing poops. Like it's just, and her gut health. I'm so grateful for it. Like all of these things, each and every moment, there is an opportunity to tune into the frequency of gratitude, like you were saying, even in a very tense moment. And also on the other side of it, what becomes even more apparent in terms of to be grateful for, which is like safety day to day, that you feel it's like, oh, there's that really intense reminder about that. And yeah, the way that we can do this, tangibly in our day to day, it really is as simple as bringing full awareness, full presence, weaving in the ritual, approaching life like a ceremony. And then, wow, when we do that, the miracles that unfold afterwards. And I sometimes think of it as a shift from, there's this term, pronoia, that I think, I forget, I don't know who coined it, but it's to contrast with paranoia. It's like the opposite of paranoia. So if paranoia is, oh no, like anything can happen, and the world is kind of secretly out to get me, or things aren't going to work out, or something like that. That energy of really kind of fear and anxiety, flipping that, and having and this is where affirmations and setting intentions are so powerful, is really implementing that core belief that actually the universe has my back. And, the universe is actually conspiring for me in my favor. And when you walk into the day with that energy, it immediately gets reflected back to you. First of all, because you're bringing that energy. And so you're attracting that energy. And I experienced this so viscerally when I was still working in the hospital, and there were emergencies every day. And it could be just chaos around me, and people literally life and limb at stake. And finding my center in that, and understanding how, wow, all I can do is just milk this for whatever wisdom is being shown to me here, and allowing that to be a catalyst for my growth. And it was just it actually got reflected back to me in the people that I worked with. It was like, wow, Tracy, you seem different, what's going on? And then my experiences at work were different because of it. And I'm just like you. Oh my gosh, Emily, I'm just like, oh Lord, I'm still so human. I still fall into the traps of fear and paranoia and all of those things. And that's okay. That's totally okay. I'm so grateful that still happens to me, because it keeps me grounded and helps me to connect with others who are still moving through that way of moving through the world. But yeah, I want to get, after we wrap up, your favorite affirmations that you're listening to every day. We're going to get links for this. We will hook up our girls with that. There is one that I will include too. Actually, it's by an artist. Her name is Activation Vibration, and she has goddess affirmations.
I love it.
That are so amazing that I will periodically drop into. I used to listen to them every day when I was nursing my son. They're so powerful. It's such a powerful practice. And I want to leave room for also you sharing a little bit about your current creations. You have 2 events coming up that you have been in creation mode for. So can you just share a little bit about each offering and what inspired them?
Totally. So let's see. I have 2 events coming up. Next Saturday is 420. It's a cannabis holiday. And just with my background, with how much it's saved my life. I mean, I love this medicine. I have my phases with it. Sometimes I don't use it. Then I'll use it for a couple of months, and I honor each of my phases. But I think for me, what I'm most passionate about and what I've been learning about myself is that I love creating a safe and sacred container for people to sit with these medicines. And so for 420, we're doing like a wellness day retreat where I'll be guiding the participants with cannabis meditations in the beginning, and we'll go into a yoga, somatic breath work, and a sound bath. And then I'm going to be doing something fun too. We're going to be doing a puff and paint. So I'll have a bunch of easels set up, and it's really to allow people to connect with this medicine in an intentional way. And the indigenous cultures, cannabis is actually looked down upon. They call her the jealous sister. And it's actually part of the diet for sitting with medicines like ayahuasca and Kambo to not sit with cannabis. And I just think it's so funny because if you think of cannabis, the plant scientifically, like the THC comes from the female plant, whereas CBD comes from the male plant. And the only reason that they bud and they make the flowers that we smoke is because they're not pollinating. So if you think about it, cannabis is a sexually frustrated female. And so, yeah, she's probably a little bit jealous. Okay. And when she gets some, she probably doesn't want to let it go. So it makes sense that like my Kambo teacher is like, when she gets her claws in you, she doesn't take them out. I'm like, well, that makes sense. But it's for me, when I use cannabis with intention, it actually helps me laser focus, Maybe because I have ADD or ADHD, who knows? But it really, if I use it intentionally with a meditation and I'm working on it with a project, or if I'm trying to connect to spirit, and because the noise in my head is a little staticky and I can't connect with my heart, it's such a beautiful experience. And I'll journal or I'll meditate or I'll do yoga. I've also heard of people having psychedelic experiences when you do cannabis with breath work. So I'm excited to create that for others in a safe container. And we'll also have like a cold plunge and yummy snacks. So I'm so excited. That's our 420 event. And then I'll be hosting a psilocybin retreat. It's called the Awaken the Warrior Within. It's May 11th and 12th. And I'm super excited about this one. I've been hosting psilocybin retreats this past year, and the previous ones have been women focused and they've been goddess ceremonies. And after like the third one, a lot of my guy friends and male followers are like, what about us? Like, we want this too. And so I've created the Awaken the Warrior Within. It's a co-ed retreat, which I'm super excited about. It's a little bit of a different energy. But for me, it's kind of like how you brought up awakening and what that means to me. It's like the warrior in me has also changed throughout my life and what that definition means. Like when I think of warrior, I can think of someone going to war, putting their armor on and things like that. But when I think of Emily as a warrior and what that means to my day-to-day life, it means quieting that people pleaser. It means learning how to say no. The Emily warrior is someone who protects her peace. And it's funny because, man, the second I launched this event, I'm relearning about this new warrior inside of me with all of these things that have come up. So yeah, and it's really beautiful because the people that I've been interviewing for this, they're in the same. They've lost their sense of self. They've lost themselves to parenthood. They've lost themselves to their job and to these roles and identities that they've had to create for others, that they forget who they are. And so being a warrior doesn't have to be a negative thing. It's actually a really beautiful process. And it's something that I've learned, especially working with Kambo, is the warrior medicine. It's about learning about your own strength and where it comes from and where it's hiding. And we're going to be awakening this retreat weekend. I'm so, so excited. And yeah, it's here in LA. And yeah, those are my two events.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. I mean, both of them just sound such incredible opportunities. And yeah, cannabis as a medicine, I think, is so misunderstood. There's so much culturally around it that I think like it's funny what you're sharing too about various indigenous perspectives on the medicine, because like I worked with a woman who introduced me to the idea of cannabis, the spirit of cannabis, as Santa Maria, as like a plant medicine in her own right, just like ayahuasca, just like the psilocybin containing mushrooms. And I had never worked with cannabis that way before. I had only ever engaged with it very unconsciously, recreationally, in an abusive kind of relationship when I was younger. And of course, those experiences reflected back to me, that abusive relationship with the medicine. But then when I started to work with it, when I was actually healing my hormones, and also I also too have had really psychedelic experiences, especially when ingesting it like orally.
Mm-hmm.
And it can also, I just want to tell people too that it makes sense to fast with it when working with other medicines, because it can be a really potent reactivator of psychedelic experiences if you engage with it too soon, say after. So yeah, whether 5-MeO DMT or psilocybin or any of ayahuasca, any of those things. And so we want to respect the medicines in that way. But it is when it engaged with therapeutically, I like would love to drop into that event that you're
Oh my gosh, I wish you could
cultivating.
come.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Like it's so, that sounds so amazing. And then of course, psilocybin medicine closest to my heart. That and yeah, the warrior really is, yeah, what you said about really digging deep to find the source of your own strength, what that really means. Wow, that's such a beautiful, beautiful intention and to work with that with the with the medicine of the mushrooms. So amazing. We will of course include that in the show notes, like all the
Mhm.
details about how people can, if you're feeling called to either of those experiences because of whatever is alive for you right now, and especially all of the incredible wisdom that Emily just dropped in this episode.
Aw,
We'll include all that information. So we'll have it in the show notes. And wow, Emily, this time flew by. We're
it
actually,
really did. I can't even believe it. You're talking about wrapping up. I'm like, we just started. What?
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's so beautiful. It felt like an integration for me, actually,
Mm.
of a lot of journeys and the never ending journey that is just this life. So, so grateful for your sisterhood, for your service in this world, and sending you so, so much love.
Thank
And
you, Mama. You
we're
too.
gonna do,
And
we're
hopefully
gonna do it again.
hopefully next time me and you will be talking about hosting a retreat together. I
Yes.
would love to do that.
It's coming. I know
I
it's
feel it.
coming.
Thank you so much for having me on and for your trust and your open heart. And I have so much love for you. And I have so much love for Jen for connecting us.
Hello, beautiful people. If you enjoyed the episode, please do hit that subscribe button so you can follow along for more. And it would really light us up if you could leave a comment or a review, maybe share something that really spoke to you and resonated with your heart, or share the episode with a friend or loved one, or simply hit the like button. And if you're interested in learning more about our work with ceremonial mushroom medicine that's fully legal here in Oregon, please do visit our website at www.eleusiahealth.com. That's ELEUSIA health.com.